Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Anyhow Anyway, a literary chaos podcast hosted by me, Summer England, and we talk about all things cozy, bookish, writing routines, and then everything in between, okay? That's what this podcast is. Hello? Is this thing on? Can anybody hear me? Sometimes having a podcast is a lot like, I would say, when you had to do anything over Zoom wherein you were the main person to present or speak, and there was no type of stimulus letting you know what was going on, not even a vibe. It was not a time in history that I particularly enjoyed at all. I would say Zoom was sort of the straw that broke my particular camel's back. Do you know what I mean? I mean, my goodness. Also, can you believe that it's only been 5-ish years since we've had TikTok? Because TikTok and 2020 go hand in hand. And it honestly might be older than that. I'm not entirely sure. As you all well know, I'm deeply behind on anything that's trending, ever at all, on social media or books or otherwise. Anyhow, anyway, I remember getting on that app for the first time in 2020 in the Zoom era and thinking to myself, oh my God, I cannot have any more digital input in my life. I cannot do this. And here we are. I've garnered hundreds of thousands of followers on that app, of which I really don't like posting on anymore. Can we talk about that for a second? Can we talk about that? So, as you all well know, in season 2, I want to talk about whimsy, adding whimsy to your life. What are the things in which you can do in your daily life to make the mundane magic, most of which really centers around the fact of knowing that you can, in some capacity, do something for yourself that feels a little bit magical, and that has varying degrees from picking up a button and sewing it onto your sweater or, buying a sacred candle from the thrift store and then sort of summoning dryads to your house. Like things like that. Dryads, druids, tomato, whatever. What was I saying? The thing is that what was I saying? Oh, TikTok. So when I first started posting on TikTok and when I first started the popularity of that app was the golden age to me of social media, because it was a place where communities could find each other really easily. And I was getting exposure to different types of content and short form things that were just so precious. I remember Meg from Meg's Tea Room and Cozy Fantasy. I remember connecting with Rebecca Thorne back in the day, honey. You know how we're always talking about the golden age of YouTubers? I guess I was that, or in that era for TikTok, which is weird to think about. For as far as book talk goes anyways. And it used to be such a fun thing to do and really to connect in with people. And I think so much of that still came from the after effects of 2020 and the need to reconnect, but not doing so in a way that was necessarily person to person. And the content was just cozy. And then TikTok Shop came along, and I feel like it changed the landscape of the app a lot. And now there's just something about posting that I just really don't enjoy. I don't know what it is. I really like connecting in with people, and I think that the thing that keeps me posting on that platform in particular is that I know there are people who only have that app, who aren't on YouTube, who aren't on Instagram, etc., and they like to engage with my content there, and it brings them joy or laughter. And so I feel the thing that keeps me going and posting sometimes is that, but it's just lost to me. The whimsy, the sweetness, the kindness. I think that it's still there. It's just a lot different. And I think that also probably comes with anything that is of the digital age has such a short lifespan of usefulness is not the right word, but you know what I mean? There's not a long time that it's going to be relevant and fun to engage in. At some point, it is just going to be for consumption. And I guess that's where I circle with the TikTok thing is because it feels so consumer now because of TikTok Shop, and it is obvious. I mean, one of the methods in which I repped my book before it came out on TikTok was I ordered Bones coffee, which is coffee that I love, from the TikTok Shop, and I mentioned it in the video so it could have the TikTok Shop like whatever link on it, and then I just talked about the book and the author journey because it gets you views, and I didn't want to pay to get views, and which I guess I kind of did because I got Bones coffee, but that's neither here nor there. You get what I'm saying. And a few people were like, do you have like an ad with him or something? And I was like, no. The truth of the matter is that TikTok doesn't really show your stuff, especially if you're not posting every day or multiple times a day, or, doing something sensationalized, what have you. And I'm just not going to do that. I don't care about trying to biohack that. And anyways, I have been considering a lot of like, what is stuff that I like to engage in? What is stuff that I want to do? Because part of the way in which I ensure that my life and my home feels cozy is that when I am in my home, I am engaging in things that I believe in and that I want to do. And is TikTok still that? I don't know. I think that if it didn't have such a scope, that I would just say bye-bye. And I assume if I'm already feeling that way, at some point I will. And just let my videos be, and then people can follow me elsewhere. But I have a garden to tend. I have like a house that I need to make ultra whimsical. And I love talking about that on here. And I've got whimsy house updates for you, but I'm not going to vlog it. I just can't find it in myself to vlog it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to get out my phone and be like, look, I painted my walls. I don't want to do that. And I don't know if it's from laziness. It's just not something I'm going to do. And the only advice that I've ever given to people when they talk to me about social media is if it does not bring you joy, you should not do it. I only do it because I like to. And it has brought me an immense amount of privilege and opportunities. And then the second I don't want to anymore, I'm just going to say bye-bye. Do you know what I mean? That was a tangent that we just got on. But I have a long-standing love-hate relationship with most digital media. You know what I mean? I'm an analog girl. I can't help it. Everything is just too overstimulating. I can't be doing that. I can feel my brain numbing. You know what I mean? Now, it was just Mother's Day yesterday. I am taping this the day after Mother's Day. Am I behind on my self-imposed schedule of when I would like to tape these episodes? Yes. Are you still going to get it when you're supposed to get it? Yes. Yes, you will. And I have a lot of people ask me how I raise my kid, how I parent my kid, how do I give him a magical childhood? How do I make sure he feels this? How do I whatever? And I just want to say first, did I read a single book before I had my kid about how to raise a kid? No, absolutely I did not. Because one, I don't want to be told what to do. Two, I think because I never necessarily intended to be a mom, I was very unaware of expectations around parenthood. And I'm being totally honest with you, starting from a blank slate of what I believe to be a good mom, because I did not have necessarily like the world's best mother figure as an example in which I was like, this is how you do this. And so when I came into motherhood, I was just like, well, I mean, the kid, I'm going to keep the kid alive. And as he gets older, I am going to understand more about him as he understands more about himself. And I will align myself as we go. I didn't want to impose anything. I didn't want to expect triumphs and or tribulations here and there. I was just going to take it as it came along. And that's still how I do it. I have like very little to say, but I think the things that I have learned in these 7 years of being a mom, first and foremost, is that I really love being a mom. I'm really glad I had my kid. And I had him when I was in graduate school, in a bad marriage, And I raised him. His infant years were during that time, and it was really, really hard. But if there's something motherhood has taught me, just because life is hard does not mean it's bad. And that I don't want to ever teach my kid hopelessness in the face of adversity. And I think that's where people's perception of my motherhood ends up stemming from, because I think my understanding of how a lot of people see me raise my kid is like, it's very, I guess it's trendy in like the 90s butter mom stuff. I do not engage with that. I don't know what's going on there. But we go to the library a lot. We go to gardens, we go to forests. He's developed really cool interests that I love engaging, with him and understanding more about him. And I am endlessly curious about what he feels and thinks about things, and how to make sure that he has access to things that interest him. And a lot of that is books, a lot of that is gardening, and a lot of that is because that's what we were able to afford for a really long time, was a library. But to the outside world, I think it is like, oh, she knows how to be a good mom. She knows how to make sure her kid's childhood is magical. And I just want to tell you right now, that's not what I'm thinking. The thing that drives almost everything that I ever do with my kid is this fun? And is he okay? Is he alive? Am I okay? Am I alive? And I don't want him to ever feel hopeless in the face of adversity. And a lot of that comes from figuring out the next step of, instead of losing hope, finding the magic of building a relationship with the earth, building relationships with people around you. Nobody's success is your failure, etc. And because that is my driving force, a lot of that just comes out in really random ways of, yeah, we're going to go to the library, and we're also going to engage in reading in a way that is so fun, so magical, but also ensuring that, he understands, like, somebody took the time to write this, and the food that you have on your plate, somebody took the time to grow that. And I think naturally, over just like the mindfulness of the wonder that is in the world, and like, hey, the plate that you have came from like somebody who did pottery and it ended up at the thrift store. Like, I wonder what the history of that is. And so I think a lot of the magic, a lot of the wonder isn't something that you have to buy. It is coming from my own values as a mother, and just how to ensure that he knows how to do that. And also, I fail all the time. It was so sweet, the amount of people I had reach out to me yesterday in my community and online who were so kind and complimentary about, like, I see how you are as a mom. And that means the world to me, because there was a time in my life where everyone in my life, because I wanted to do a career, was telling me the opposite, that I was selfish and that I was awful. Did those comments get to me? Yes. Did I listen? No. I still did it. I just felt horrible, but I got through it. One way or another. I got through it. And I just want to say, in this type of format, and this is not like self-degradation at all, but I mean, my kid I think that he's going to look back on his childhood, I hope, and be like, I was really loved and supported, and I remember reading books. And if those are the things that he looks back on, great. I am sure he will remember that I can get, and especially when he was smaller, like 3 or 4, get really overstimulated and have to apologize for losing my patience. Like, this is like the state of it, is that you can have magic and whimsy in your life and still make mistakes, but it's not that hard to be kind to your kid, and it's not that hard to apologize. And then he learns that, and vice versa. Where was I going with all of that? I don't know. But I guess most of it comes from the things that I have chosen to do as a mom, of tending things and being mindful and kind, and doing moon water, or teaching him about rocks, teaching him about what different plants mean, teaching him to think how cute it is, and just point out that look at all these other people in their garden and they're growing their favorite flowers, is not necessarily coming from me being overly driven by, I have to make sure he has magic in his childhood. I want to make sure that he turns out to be a good person. And I think where there is goodness and where there is kindness, there is inherently magic and whimsy, because really all it is about caring about the place that you're in, the people you're with, and the greater community. And from there, and that has so many different iterations, but that's where all of my stuff comes from. You know what I mean? It's not from books. It's not from like, I'm going to be the perfect 90s mom. We're just out here doing our best, okay? We're just out here doing our best. And we got to, that's all we got. At the end of the day is our best. Also, I'm Southern. I'm from the South. So there is sort of an element of like, I don't know, we're always opening the windows when the spring comes. I have 8 million superstitions. This is just the way that it is. All right? So if you're a mom or you want to be a parent who's like, I want to give my kid a whimsical childhood, I would just say to take the pressure off of yourself. Take the pressure off of yourself and go to the library sometimes. Those are the things. These are the things on my mind. Now, off of that motherhood tangent and onto something very embarrassing that I learned over the weekend. I want to be clear with you, if it is not abundantly clear and if you're just not tuning in. I'm ADHD. I am autistic. Okay? This means, I was also homeschooled, okay? So this means that throughout the duration of my 20s in particular, I have been learning what stuff means. What does it mean for somebody to feel like we are socializing? Do you know what I mean? What does it mean for somebody to think that we are friends? What does friendship feel like? What does a secure attachment feel like? What does any of these emotions that have to do with, in particular, connecting to other people in a social manner, what do they feel like? Because I realize in my late diagnosis and in my deconstructing from fundamental Christianity, is that I literally have no fucking idea at all what's going on at the world stage and how people feel about anything, ever. Ever, ever, ever. Because sometimes, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, and this is not me being clinical, when I hang out with my friends, I do feel like I'm clocking in and clocking out. Do you know what I mean? I'm doing that because I'm like, okay, it seems that it is important for you, for us to talk. Okay, I'm going to do that. And that feels mean, or it's not apparently how other people feel on the hanging out, okay? So the neighbor and I were together, right? I say, hey, do you want to go hang out? I'll be in the garden and we can chit chat. And he was like, well, that's spending time together. I wouldn't say that's hanging out, but yeah. And I was like, what are you talking about? We get into this long discussion and he's like, what do you think hanging out is? And I was like, that we're talking while we're doing stuff. And he was like, hanging out is, I would argue, when there's nothing else to be doing other than talking to each other. That's it. There's nowhere else you have to be. You're just hanging out. There's not a project. You are just together. I start thinking to myself. All of my friends who have asked to hang out throughout my life, I've always been like, yeah, we can go on a walk. It's always activity based. We could go to this paint and sip and all of that. And several of them have been like, well, let me know when you're available to hang out. And I'm like, I literally just did. We can go on a walk. We can go do errands together. What if we went to the grocery store together? That's hanging out. And it's been brought to my attention that hanging out and spending time together are two different things. This made my tummy hurt simply because hanging out sounds awful. That sounds awful. You just sit and you just talk with nothing to do. Oh God. Oh, no. I cannot be doing that. I start asking other people and they agree. Okay? It's not just a boy and his particular proclivity to understand what hanging out is. They're like, no, yeah, there is, I would say there's a difference between spending time together and then hanging out where it's just like we're all around a circle chatting. we're all around a circle chatting. But there's not a goal at that point. And then I think, this is where the connection and my understanding of feelings is sort of really at a disconnect right now, because I do not understand how we feel closer at the end of that. Do you know what I mean? Because I guess for me, connecting in is like, or hanging out is like, okay, obviously we literally have lives. We have lives. Let's not play games here. We have lives, and we have things to do. So why don't we do things, and then we can happen to be talking if that's something that you need. Do you know? Oh my God. I'm so autistic. It's like really embarrassing sometimes how I met with my own autism. I don't understand. I don't understand. It's the same thing with when my book came out. Everyone wanted to throw me a party. Why? What is in that for me? What? See, and this is embarrassing, I think. But it's also just the state of things. This is me at 29 crisp years of age, coming to the terms with the fact that I apparently not only do I not know what hanging out is, but I hate it. I don't like that as a concept. I find it fundamentally disconcerting. And when I have found myself in scenarios where we just have a listless amount, and I think some of it probably comes from control or anxiety or something, because I'm like, so what is the time limit here? You know what I mean? What is the time limit? Because after an hour of this, I am sleepy. Now, the other thing in my defense of spending time together while doing something is that we have the duration of the time for the thing to be done, and we're talking. I can last so much longer. You know what I mean? No pun intended. I can last so much longer, where it's like we have a 3-hour activity. All right, we're doing Thanksgiving dinner. And while I am cooking and while I am doing stuff and while I am serving, we're hanging out. That, as far as I'm concerned, we're hanging out, we're spending time together. And now I'm learning that that's not hanging out to people. That's, Summer's doing stuff and we're talking to her. Well, that's just what you're going to have to get. I'm so sorry. That's my preferred mode. All right? Everybody has their preferred mode of transportation. And I think we should be treating socialization as such. My preferred mode of socialization is wherein we have an activity to do. Okay? And that could be a road trip. That could be a walk. That could be coffee. But it's not like, hey, you guys want to hang out at 7? So that's going to be a no. What? Do you know what I mean? Is this wild? Does anybody else feel this way? Am I talking into the void? That's okay if I am. I totally understand if I am. I get it. I really do. Anyways. So, I do have a very exciting thing coming up this week. I have been sent a little free library, and I've been hard at work painting the fence behind it because when I bought this house, it came with like 2 panels of a privacy fence somebody did not finish installing. And I'm not going to dig it up or pay to dig it up, at least at this point in my life. So I painted it a bunch of different colors, and just colors that I had around my house. And the little free library is going on in front of it, and I am in the middle of painting that. I'm trying to figure out what I want my logo to be, because the name of the little free library is going to be called Tattles and Tales. Okay. I was going to call it Wayward Whimsy, but I think I like Tattles and Tales better because I'm thinking of a little hedgehog on top of a stack of books. I just think that would be cute. I think that would be so adorable. Because there's going to be children's books in there. There's also going to be new releases. There's going to be romanticises. There's going to be signed copies of my book for any of you huge fans. Sorry. Anyhow, that is very exciting. And I've been painting it, and I've been hard at work. And I've also been digging a stone path to it. And it's just been so fun. And I've also realized, because the beginning of this year was really intense. I had a lot of deadlines. I had a lot of things coming up because I am ADHD, the chase to get them done gives me a little bit of dopamine. Now that they're over and submitted, I feel a little listless. I feel like I need to go back to school. And I'm writing every morning. I'm doing what I need to do. I feel pretty regulated, and I don't like that. I'm like, but I need a little something. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I unnecessarily dug a winding stone pathway for myself. And it was actually backbreaking work to dig several holes for large rocks in which for people to maybe step on their way to this little library. Okay? I ordered 2 pounds of wildflower seeds as well, because I'm like, and I'll start a cut flower garden and we will have that with the library. You see, I'm adding deadlines for myself. What is wrong with me? Multiple things, but oh my God. But that has been giving me a lot of whimsy. And I'm really excited about putting it all together and hopefully it becoming a place for the community and for my kiddo and I, because we have collected so many books over the years. I am hopeful that it is a place that he is able to like express his own want to give of like, oh, I think, this Spider-Man book would be really cool in here or whatever. And he can curate his collection for kiddos and I'll curate my collection for les mamas de papas and, the people who are not, the people who just want a good book to read and so on and so forth. So that's been the whimsy in my life. And I'm very, very happy and excited about it. And I'm so immensely grateful that I got a little free library off of social media. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anyhow, in the news that doesn't matter, which is all of this podcast. I don't know why I call this segment that, because this entire podcast is me talking about stuff on my mind and what I'm doing. But anyhow, in the news that doesn't matter, in keeping with the theme, what I'm reading, writing, listening to. What I'm reading, I am suckling the last pages of Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. I am drawing it out as far as possible. I'm drawing out The Faraway Inn by Sarah Beth Durst. And that's what I'm reading right now. What I'm writing is my romance novel, which is very exciting, while also percolating on the other cozy fantasy romance that I'm excited to write. And what I'm listening to, girl, I'll be listening to BBC Gardener's World. I just listened to their Dangerous Plant series, and it was so cozy to hear British people talk about plants that can kill you. I'm not meaning to infantilize an entire demographic of people, but it's so cute that they sound like that. It's so lovely. I could listen to it forever, and I do, hours and hours and hours of it. I've actually learned so much. And then I'm listening to Caleb Heron, So True. He is a gay podcaster and comedian. Now, let me tell you something about how out of the loop I am, is that the name I just shared with you, probably, most of you know who that man is. And I will tell you that I saw a clip of him like last year, and it was him with Brittany Broski and Drew Afwalo, okay? And it was one of, I would say, canonically the most famous clip of him on the internet. I think, I could be wrong. And it's him in a minion costume talking about I was 15 in the double wide. Now, I thought that I just stumbled upon 3 hilarious people no one else knew about. Okay? That's what I thought. I was like, do people know about these people? They are so funny. Oh my God. Me looking at the video. Oh, it has 6 million likes. Huh. Maybe it only went viral once. I start listening to the podcast. I think it's hilarious. Oh my God, it's so funny. I'm talking to other people about it. They're like, yeah, Caleb Heron, the comedian. I'm so delusional. I think they must be thinking about somebody else because it could not possibly be the person I discovered over the weekend. Who do I think that I am? I was never even the girl that discovered a band. The only thing that I have ever done way ahead of time was my love for Sierra Farrell. And I loved her long before she ever got her 4 Grammys. That's it. That's it. Oh, and I dress cottagecore. I did that before it was ever a trend. And sometimes I am disgusted when people accuse me of being trendy. And they're not even being mean. I was wearing we're in rehearsals for As You Like It right now. somebody tells me, oh, I love this, like your cottagecore vibe. This like, it's very trendy. And I was like, this is just how I dress. Summer, don't be an asshole. And I was like, sorry, it's just that I dress like this so far before. I just don't want you to think that this is put on. You know what I mean? Like I'm wearing a headscarf right now because I haven't washed my hair in 3 days because I forgot, because I was timing it based on when I was going to garden next and the sweat and when it was going to be in the, do you understand? And then it just goes downhill from there. So anyways, that's what I'm listening to is BBC Gardener's World. And then So True by Caleb Heron, who is, extremely famous in Devil Wears Prada 2. Me thinking that no one knows who he is. Oh my God. I'm so deeply it's just embarrassing. Anyhow, I hope you stay cozy. I hope you have a whimsical week. I hope you do something absolutely ruthlessly whimsical in the face of something less than. And thank you for listening. Rate and review on your podcast platforms. Also, I'm going to Ireland, 2 trips, one in August, one in October. There's plenty of room left on both, so book it now, baby. All right? You don't have summer plans? Why don't you come to Ireland with me? We can dance on tables in a bar. How about that? Okay? Bye.